Great. So welcome to chapter 10 of our SEO, or excuse me, of DM160. And today we're going to be learning some more utilities and tool sets. The main thing that we're going to be learning here is conducting some more keyword research and analysis. There's going to be some interesting deep site crawlers we're going to look at too. And then we're going to go ahead and look at some of these utilities. There's also site speed as a factor, and some of these extra ones I think are helpful when you're doing your own website design or looking at other websites too. But for the main points here to help with the capstone projects, I definitely want to make sure we hit the first two bullet points pretty well. Great. And if you haven't seen so already from the amount of slides we've been looking at, there's a lot of SEO tools out there, right? There's well, at least we've already seen 20 or so, I think. So there's quite a few of them, and all of them serve their fundamental purpose. But we can go ahead. And the main items that we want to look at to help implement our SEO are going to be these little categories here. For our projects, we're going to be mainly dealing with the first two, or excuse me, with keyword research, link building, and maybe some content building as well. But definitely feel free to use a few of them in combination. Oh, sorry. I think I muted someone by accident. If I muted you by accident, apologies. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Did I ask? Sorry. Hi, Cheek. Hello. How are you? Okay. Great. Welcome. Excellent. Sorry, Cheek. Did you have a question or anything? Any questions? All right. Well, okay, perfect. So for the first portion here for our chapter 10 is we're going to go ahead and look at some of the keyword research and analysis tools. And again, I would like to reiterate that this is going to be helpful with some of the research that you can use for your capstone projects 2 and 3. And let me go ahead and try to pull up those on the side here for later. The few tools that we're going to be looking at, I think it's called Suval. I'm not too sure. But there's also WordStream and Ubersuggest. And what this can do for us is, why don't we keep working with our Black Dog Gelato guy. So Daisy here. Put him over here. And essentially, excuse me, you can go ahead and look at the keywords, long tail phrases, and some other analytics that happen when you're using these search engines with these specific categories. So if we go ahead and let's see here. Okay, perfect. So what Suval is a really neat tool that goes ahead and lets you search for a keyword or a phrase on these different platforms. So if I go ahead and type in gelato shop Chicago, we can see here that the items in Google pop up like this, but you can see on these other areas here, there's quite a few keywords that we can look at. Overstock, and again, all of these aren't search engines per se. Some of these are like websites for buying items. But if I go ahead and type in just gelato, we could see that gelato has a ton of different, keywords in a lot of different websites. And what you could do is you can go ahead and click on these guys to figure out which one you actually want to search for. And if you hit Suval here, it will take you to the search result page on that engine. So this is a really cool way to go ahead and look at the different keywords for something. Again, I might say dog walker job. And you can see here that for dog walking, I have a lot of descriptions here. I actually have ages in here as well. So maybe if you're looking to hire certain dog walkers for your business, you might be able to do ages and stuff too. There's a lot of information here that you can work with. The other tool that we're going to look at is WordStream. See if I can pull it up here. And it's going to go ahead and look at us, or excuse me, it's going to go ahead and give some suggestions on some other items as well. Unfortunately, I believe WordStream is, I think it's paid for. Yeah, I believe WordStream isn't a free one, but I think it, if you could do a trial for it, but for our purposes here, let me see if this one is free, because I want to make sure you guys can use ones that are just able to be used right away. Oh, great. Okay, yeah. Uber Suggest is another one that's similar to Google Keywords or the keyword tool. Another interesting thing, though, is you could go ahead and pick the area, the language, and the some more information here as you wish. And for instance, you can search for English, but in Tanzania or Taiwan and stuff like that as well. So you can do it by localization as well. But again, if I do just my gelato search here, we saw this a bit earlier in the previous video. But we can see that Gelato comes up with some pages here. And we should be able to get some keywords. Great. And then we can see these are the keywords that we're getting. So if I go ahead and do dog walker. And again, these just give some straightforward keywords. So what I would say for your projects here is you could go ahead and look at some of these keywords. You do, there's some trials here to look at more of the advanced stuff, but you guys don't need to pay for anything for these. I believe just using the free versions of these would be really helpful. And I think Suval is going to be a nice one to use because it does give you quite a few different types of, excuse me, keywords in just the smaller engine there. So again, for your capstone part 2, when you're making up some keywords for the pages that you've created for your website, definitely feel free to use Suval, or Uber suggests to do that. Deep site crawlers are another tool that's going to be available to us to help out. And what you could do is you could go ahead and look through your website to find any issues that might occur with it. So if we go ahead and go to it's a bit of a goofy name, but Screaming Frog, let's see here, is going to go ahead and go through some of the websites and figure out a way that it can improve on-site SEO. Turn this down a little bit. I think it's someone doing a tutorial here, but I'm wondering if I can. Let's go ahead and zoom in here. Great. So what this would look like is this a very, again, this looks a bit intense for a tool, so we're not going to rely on this for our projects. But as you can see here, you could go ahead and take a look at the URLs on your website. See that if they're indexable or not. See the type of information that's on them, and then pretty much how healthy or anything like that it's going on to. And it also goes ahead and it breaks down the code into little segments here that we could see that will be helpful for us to learn more information with it as well. Excellent. So again, let's see here. I do, there's a few more here, like deep crawl as well. I'm wondering if this one is able to do. Okay, so it might, this one might be able to be built into the browser. But again, these tools are essentially ways that we can look at how healthy our website is. And again, if you have missing links or some broken pages on your website or the website you're looking at, it might affect the SEO in a negative way. This is a breakdown of each of them. But again, Screaming Frog is going to go ahead and crawl your website for links, images, and CSS. Deep crawl is going to be a tool that goes ahead and figures out how you could do some URL rewrites. And URL rewrites is a nice way to go ahead and make your URL look nicer. You might be able to get rid of some of the attributes of the website. So what that means is you might, if you're ever done some website design before, if I go to a website here called index.html, there's ways that we can rewrite our URL so that it just says index instead of having the .html after it. So that is essentially what a rewrite is, where you can remove the .html from anything. And then there's a few more items here as well. Oh, great. Let's see if... And then we also have some Rob Hammond's URL crawler. Great. And what we could do with this one is let's go ahead and look at our Black Dog Gelato option. If we go ahead and crawl this website, it's going to go ahead and we can see a lot of information that happens here. But we can see we get some essentially potential SEO issues that could happen. For instance, we have multiple H1 tags. And as we can see when we scroll down more, there's quite a bit of information with all of these, but it will just describe to you if some links are broken or not. And I believe this tool will be helpful as well. But again, these tools are very interesting, but because we don't have a website just posted just yet, for the capstone projects, I want to focus on more of the link building aspects. So focus on the keyword aspects that we looked at earlier. Link building, again, is a way that we can figure out how we can get our website's name out there more often. Let me pull this up for us really quick. Perfect. So if we go ahead and try to search for Black Dog Gelato again using Majestic, we can see here that we get a rating of fresh if with the external backlinks. So that means that we can see that our website's up to date. We can see we have a lot of outbound links going on. Some are internal and external. And there's lots of information that you can get to after, of course, you've paid for the majority of it. But a general idea with this tool is we're going to be able to just look at some of the URL and links that's going on here. These tools are paid for, of course, once we get to the other levels. These guys, again, these three different types of tools in general are ways that you can take a look at what links are coming into your website and what links are coming out of your website as well. But feel free to use a combination of them. But the best tools usually are the ones that you can just use for free inside of the browser. So don't feel the need that you have to subscribe or download any of these. Excuse me. There's a few more tools here as well that are going to help a bit with site speed. And site speed is another aspect of SEO performance that can be beneficial. For a small example, we go ahead and pull up Gmetrics here. Inside of Gmetrics, if I go ahead and test my site with the URL, it's going to go ahead and try to analyze my website and try to give me some results on how it's doing. So it is popped up. It's taking a little bit of time here. Great. So we see that we have a little bit of a low grade here, but we're able to get some performance and structures okay. And in general, we just want to make sure that the website is running at an okay speed. So this is another tool that you can use to help test the website speed and figure out ways that you can improve it. One more thing here. Excellent. Now, there's some more items here, such as Dare Boost, which are just going to go ahead and check out the content quality, or excuse me, the quality of the site and how it looks to a web-based interface. And what that means is based off of some standards that we have in Google, it's going to go ahead and check out if it's running okay or not. But again, for our purposes here, because we don't have websites up just yet, some of these, I don't want to overload you guys with a lot of tools, but essentially I just want to make sure that we're all understanding how we can look at the websites later on after they're complete. Now, some of these websites here are good for just pretty much spell checking. Grammarly is a really nice tool for checking out how if your punctuation is okay and if the grammar is correct. And a few more of these tools, such as Siteliner, Hootsuite, and BuzzSumo, they're all going to go ahead and figure out ways to check your content and make sure that it's written okay and effectively. There's also some extra components of each of these, but in general, as we said before, make sure that the content that you're writing is well structured and written. Great. There's some more tools here for site audits, and again, SEO Site Checkup and WooRank are just tools that are going to tell us, hey, your website's running a bit slow or it's running a bit fast. And then that's going to help us with our SEO, because if we have a website that runs well, Google's going to rank it higher. Now, so a lot of these tools that I'm talking about here are for websites that are already created. The tools that I wanted to show off a bit more in depth from Chapter 10 here, that I want to make sure that we can use, I would say for your capstone part 2, if you're having a bit of trouble figuring out how to go about finding some keywords for your content pages, use some of these tools that are listed here. And again, because right now we're just designing the projects in the PowerPoint, we don't need to worry too much about optimization for the web just yet. But again, for some of us, I might be saying, okay, I want to start a shoe store for my capstone project. You can say something like a shoe store like this, or maybe you could say something like Chicago something, and then we could see a lot of these keywords that pop up here. Suval is a good one. Keyword tool, keywordtool.io, I believe it's called. Yep, keywordtool.io is another one where you can determine which keywords using this one and stuff like, or using these different search engines and so forth. So these are all great tools that I highly recommend reviewing and looking at. And of course, I'll link them in the chat. But if you're having trouble with Capstone Part 2 figuring out, okay, what type of keywords do I make sure that you try to use these sites. And remember, you are more than welcome to use the different types of keywords we talked about as well. I remember we said we have the head keywords where they're a bit more broad. You have the body keywords, which are those 2 to 3 words that are probably the strongest keywords you want to get. But if you feel that a long tail keyword will work effectively, then be more than willing to use it. So for instance, dog walker Chicago, we could see here that this is a body keyword because it's only tree words. But as we can see here, there might be some long tail keywords that we like dog walker, Streeterville, Chicago. Maybe I need to be a bit more specific with my neighborhood. So make sure that you check these sites out if you want to double check the keywords that you're creating.